Someone recently asked me if a movie was good, and I just stood there and stared at them for like 5 minutes. Not because I hadn't seen it. I had. I just genuinely did not know how to answer that question. Now, did you enjoy it? I could answer that no problem. Of course I did. But good, like objectively, measurably, and recommendingly good? I don't know. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I don't know if I know what good means anymore in anything. And I don't think I'm the only one. Now let's start with movies, because I feel like this is the most obvious place that this has been broken down. There used to be a system. Critics watched something, they scored it, and wrote about it. You could disagree with the critic, and that was all part of the fun. The disagreement always kind of happened within that shared framework that the film was meant to be in. Now we have Rotten Tomatoes and Letterboxd, which on Letterboxd is just a bunch of people trying to be funny within one sentence and not actually saying much about the movie at all. And Rotten Tomatoes, which takes every review ever written and turns it into a percentage. But it's just like all a bunch of non-information, which seems like information. Because a film that gets a 78% might mean that it's consistently decent, or it might mean that half the critics thought it was a masterpiece and half the critics thought it was a snooze fest and left halfway through, and the math just averaged out the movie. For example, Saltburn. What would you say about this film score? Like, after watching it, is it good? Is it bad? Like, obviously you have your own opinions on it. What does this score mean, though? Because as a wise philosopher once said, it's opinions based. And then there's the audience score, which is a whole other disaster. Because audiences review bomb things now. They leave 1 star because the lead actress said one thing that they didn't like on Twitter in 2019. And they leave 5 stars on a certain film because they're in the fandom, and the fandom decided that this was the best film of the year. So what do? You ask your friends, but your friends are also just people who have watched the same algorithmic curated content that you did and are equally as lost. We're all just guessing and hoping and guessing. And music seems to be even weirder because the gatekeeping just disappeared overnight. Can you believe that there was a whole era where Rolling Stone told you what was in? Now streams are the metric, which sounds democratic. But streams just tell you what people listen to and not what they thought about it. A song can have 1 billion streams just because it was on every playlist for 6 months and nobody actually actively chose it. No, guys, seriously, I can't stop Spotify from recommending I'll make a playlist and Spotify will keep playing the same 4 songs. Like, I'm gonna delete those songs from my playlist. And on the other side, you have artists with tiny but intense fan bases who will swear to you that this is the most important music being made right now. And maybe they're right, because we have no way to verify. The old infrastructure would have surfaced them. Radio play, critical coverage, physical sales. Now it's just making a viral TikTok sound and hoping that the right person uses it. Good music exists, bad music exists. Pipeline between them and you is so randomized and so commerce driven that you genuinely cannot tell which is which from how successful it is anymore. Now, fashion and beauty is where it all kind of takes a turn. Style used to have cycles. Not saying it doesn't now, but they were a lot slower. A silhouette would come in, it would be everywhere for a few years, go out, come back, iconic, and then go out again. You had time to develop a relationship with a certain look, figure out if it was actually for you or if you were just following a certain trend. Now, micro trends live and die within 6 weeks on TikTok. Super quick. I actually talked about this in my video called Every Aesthetic Dies Eventually. Something is aesthetic, then it's cringe, then it's back ironically, then it's back unironically, all in the span of a summer. And people are buying and discarding so many clothes to keep up with this cycle that moves so quick that it barely qualifies as a cycle, to the point where our landfills are filled with cow print purses from 2020 and makeup. Don't get me started on makeup. There are so many techniques, so many products, and so many subcultures of beauty, as done, as clean girl, as natural, as beauty, like skincare, all completely depends on the corner of the internet that you live in. Clean girl makeup looks overdone to one group and underdone to another. They just have completely different reference points. We used to have beauty standards, oppressive ones, of course. Now I can't tell whether it's exhausting or freeing that we have a infinite amount of competing standards. A quick one I want to cover is comedy, which is a weird one that I was thinking of. I feel like it's not the usual thing that people would think of when they think of like, oh, I can't tell what's good, and hopping on the bandwagon. But I don't know if this is an identity crisis, but I genuinely cannot figure out what I find funny or what I've been conditioned to find funny. This goes along with everything, not just comedy, music, movies, fashion, makeup, but it also goes along with things like politics, where we are easily convinced by the things we see on the internet. There's a lot of propaganda that's easily swaying our opinions on things. And I think it's very scary. Ever since I watched the show Pluribus, I finished the show Pluribus, spoiler, I realized that I think that the show is about AI and the way that humans treat AI and the way some will accept it and some will not, because it does make our lives inherently easier. But I also think that it did a very good job at depicting the hive mind that comes along with technology and being so tied together as a world. We've never seen this much of each other before, and as soon as we got social media and we got all these devices to be able to connect all the way across the world, we know every opinion, every good opinion, every bad opinion. We know what people are thinking. We know what disgusting things are happening, in the world. And it's very, very hard to feel like your own person. Taste always required a reference point, something outside of yourself to push against. The internet promised us infinite access to that, infinite access to everybody else's opinion on everything. But opinion isn't taste. Taste requires stakes, and it requires being wrong sometimes. And we've moved away from that, the stating our position with stakes. Because it's socially costly now to reveal your opinion about something, especially if it's not the narrative that everybody else is going along with. I genuinely lose all my interest in sharing my opinion on Letterboxd when I see other people talking shit about a movie. It makes me feel dumb for thinking a movie is good or enjoying a movie when that is completely my prerogative. You say that a beloved thing is bad and suddenly you are the villain. You are the problem. You are bad. You say that a hated thing is good and suddenly you're a contrarian and you're trying to act different. And I guess you could take the path of least resistance and not say anything at all, but I don't ever shut the hell up. So it's kind of hard for me to do that. I like to share my opinions. But taking the path of least resistance also is how you end up standing in front of someone unable to answer the question if whether a movie is good or not. I'm so scared of being over understood in the wrong way. I make videos and I genuinely don't know if they're good. I know when they do well and I know when they don't. My gut doesn't trust itself anymore. It's been trained on too much content. And I think the hardest part for me is knowing how I feel about something before I see a wave of swayed opinions towards one side. And it's always before I get to make my own mind up about anything. It's not even that people are wrong. Sometimes the hate is right and something is shit. Sometimes the hype is right and it's amazing. But I often feel like this similar way to when I watched the Stranger Things finale. When I watched it like in the theaters, so I wasn't really online at all that entire day, and I watched it completely fresh, and I had a completely different reaction than everybody else that had watched that episode. Like, I went online completely shocked by the amount of people just like, I'm not saying it's the best thing ever. Like, it had its issues, trust me, I know that. But I was like genuinely people were acting like it ruined their life. Like I was like, wow, people have these strong emotions about Stranger Things. But there's something lost when you never get to find out that for yourself. Because when I hopped on social media, my opinion of Stranger Things completely changed. I was like, oh, you know what, right? It's shit. I'm stupid for ever thinking. And it genuinely made me sad that I felt dumb for thinking that the show was good. I was like, I must have absolutely no media literacy. I must be very stupid if I'm thinking this is good. But the fact is, not everybody has to have the same opinion. And unfortunately, I don't think that people realize that. And I don't really have a fix for that. It's more just for all of us to know that it's happening. Because the version of you that watches something before the discourse gets to it, that person has taste. So whatever you thought about it was your genuine reaction, okay? And my goal is to find her again. Because she has good taste. Isabella has good taste. I just gotta find her again. Anyways, hi, I'm Isabella. Thank you for listening and joining me today. I'm so sorry that I skipped the last week's upload. Some things were going on. Unfortunately, my childhood dog passed away, and I was really upset about it. And so now that everything's sorted, I feel a little bit more comfortable coming back. There was just a lot of things. I got sick. My dog died. There were so many things going on. I was like, oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed. And I really was really tired, and I just needed a little bit of break. But I really enjoyed the break, and I'm super glad I took it. I really needed that. I needed to rest. But I'm super glad to be back, and I hope this topic was interesting. It just popped into my head the other day when I was scrolling on letterboxd after being absolutely ripped to shreds because I don't even want to talk about it. It's going to get me too angry. It's going to get me too upset. We did have another conversation about Stranger Things. I can't. I think I never want to talk about Stranger Things ever again. The discourse just makes me so sad. I want to leave it on a good note, but damn it, they're really dragging that show through the mud. Okay, season 5 doesn't even count. Season 5 is just like a separate thing from the rest of Stranger Things. But anyways, got into a heated debate with my friends. Anyways, super glad to be back and super glad to be talking with you guys again. I hope you guys had a fantastic week. I hope your week was better than mine. I hope none of your pets passed away. Sorry, I cope with humor. If you liked today's video, you should hit that like button because it really helps me out. And like always, if you had fun this time, you should subscribe because I guarantee you'll have fun next time. Because I do post every other Monday except for last week. Anyways, love ya. Great to see ya. And I will see you next time. Bye.